But I realized there were so many other women out there in the same position as me, struggling to find the love of their life, believing it was possible to find the love of their life, working through their inner selves, their inner journey to raise their standards and their self-worth and balancing their energy. And there's all these nuances that comes with high achieving women that we don't realize when it comes to finding love. And then you get the whole, oh well, she's so amazing. Why hasn't she found someone yet? Oh, she's a bit too much. Oh, she needs to dumb herself down. Like all that BS that's out there as well that we get told as to why we're not finding love.
Hello, possibility seekers. It's me again, and I've got a phenomenal guest. Did you ever want to talk to someone who will tell you that you don't need to apologize for wanting love, happiness, and a great job at the same time? Someone who tells you that it's okay to say, I love me? Well, I've got that person with me today, and her name is Lynda Williams. She is a transformational coach, entrepreneur, and podcast host as well. She helps single female entrepreneurs and or high achievers find more balance, fulfillment, and love. She does this with her unique Evolved Woman program. For businesses, she runs the Workwell System and Academy, which helps specifically the PR industry thrive. She also hosts a podcast that I've just fallen in love with called PS I Love Me, a podcast for high flying women who are navigating the wild world of having it all: career successes, personal fulfillment, and even love. Does that sound familiar, ladies? With expert guests, she discusses how to balance life in the boardroom with self care, self worth, and finding love. She tackles the tough questions: can we really have it all? Or how do we find time for love when we're conquering the world? Welcome, Lynda Williams. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so fun to have you. I love your podcast. I was listening to a couple of them the other day and I thought, these are great women. I could listen to them all day long. And at the end of the day, we're all kind of facing the same thing.
We are indeed. We all trying to balance love, life, keeping it all together in this wild world we're currently navigating.
Tell us a little bit of how Linda got from here to, I mean, from there to here a little bit. Tell us about your career journey and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, let's start right from the beginning. I grew up in a tiny village of the north of in the north of England, in a little farm. I looked like a boy until I was 15 years old. Didn't know what fashion sense was. I was herding cows and sheep before and after school, and my mum was a great role model. She always taught me, follow your dreams, follow your passion, just be happy. There was never any pressure to do well at school as long as I put the effort in. So, after my father's death at 18, which was to suicide, which also led me down the coaching and mental health route, which we'll talk about later, I didn't want to let that define me. And instead, I fueled it into traveling the world 10 times over. I studied hard in hotel management. I wanted to see the world from being in this tiny little village up until the age of 18. And I ended up working for some of the best hotel groups in the world. So Mayborn Hotel Group in London, Claridge's, the Connaught and the Barclay you may have heard of. I went out to Singapore. I ended up working for Aman Resorts for 3 years, and then eventually I set up my own public relations agency, Vim& Vigor PR, and for 10 years, I represented some of the world's best wellness hotels, tourism brands, and I had the most amazing life. I traveled the world, staying in these beautiful hotels, fancy yachts, all the rest of it, and then, your purpose starts knocking on your door. Your why starts knocking on your door, and concurrently to having this life and to having this amazing business and career, I was at the top of my game. I also started to do my own inner work, understanding me from how I felt and processed from my father's death and the suicide, and people who know a little bit about that, the grieving process around a family member who went through suicide is quite complicated. I also went on to marry someone quite young. I ended up having to leave it in my early 30s because it wasn't fulfilling me and I didn't know what love was. back then when I met him when I was 21, and I ended up leaving the marriage when I was 33, and I just set up my PR agency. So it was this journey of self-exploration and curiosity and understanding. And because of, my father's death, I was always very curious about mental health. I became fascinated in wellness, and partly because some of the hotel brands I represented were deeply in the wellness industry, and it's not just about mental health, but physical health, emotional health, nutrition, all of that, all the verticals around well-being. So I always had a thirst and curiosity, and also the spiritual side of it all as well. And I was happy running my PR agency until I wasn't. I was getting burnt out because I wasn't living my purpose. And I had to do some deep work. And I realized that I wanted to help people in deep and meaningful ways. And so the clients I started to get in my PR agency were brands doing good. So one of the best conservation brands in Africa, really helping the wildlife and, the economy there, and brilliant well-being brands, charities, communities doing great initiatives to support each other, and all those types of verticals that I felt were gave me more purpose at the end of the day. But then that wasn't enough, and I was naturally coaching people through running an agency. Friends used to come to me, the wise old owl with good advice. So I eventually got qualified, and I was doing the one-on-ones. And then my dating life was an absolute disaster in my early 30s because I hadn't done the work. I literally left a marriage in my early 30s and went straight onto the dating apps. And I was so naive, and it was a wild walk in the park. And I was dating emotionally unavailable men and non-committable men, narcissists, psychopaths, you name it. I can write a book on that. So I had, again, that was in my early 30s, and I was doing the inner work. I was like, why am I attracting these men? And I realized a lot of it was to do with my self-worth. I was also repelling some guys as well because I was in my masculine energy all the time. So all of these things kind of were funneling down like my meaning and purpose, my own experience in the dating world, my own experience finding love, my own experience finding meaning and purpose. And it came to the conclusion that I had to give it up and be a full-time coach and really do what fills me with joy, and something that finds me and something that gives me so much meaning and purpose. So that's when I created the Evolve Woman program, which is basically a product of me. So I've walked the walk and taught the talk. Yes, I've got all the qualification and coaching skills, and I've trained with the world's best mindfulness teachers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I've walked the walk, so I understand what it takes to want it all and to have it all and believe that it is possible. So it's been a journey since the small town farmer's girl in the north of England to to representing PR for some of the world's best luxury hotel brands, to now becoming a coach. But it's like my program's called I've Evolved.
Did you ever hear I just heard this recently, and I'm gonna say it because it just speaks to me. You are uniquely positioned to help and serve the former version of yourself.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and when I became a coach, because there's so many coaches out there, like every man and his dog is a coach these days, and it's just like, how can I make the difference? How? Because I'm always been so authentic in terms of what I do and what I practice. Like, what can I truly give from my heart, from my toolkit, having walked the walk, how to really empathize with these women. And the thing is, I've found the love of my life now, but I realized there were so many other women out there in the same position as me, struggling to find the love of their life, believing it was possible to find the love of their life, working through their inner selves, their inner journey to raise their standards and their self-worth, and balancing their energy. And there's all these nuances that comes with high achieving women that we don't realize when it comes to finding love. And then you get the whole, "Oh, well, she's so amazing. why hasn't she found someone yet? She's just too intimidating. Oh, she's a bit too much. Oh, she needs to dumb herself down. Like all that BS that's out there as well that we get told as to why we're not finding love. So we've got a whole bunch of shit to deal with, as well as, opening our hearts to finding the love of their life. And I also believe you can actually be happy and single, but you can also be open and believing that the love of your life is out there. And I feel like it's a one side or the other side. There's a lot of women like, oh, men bashing. There's no one out there for me. I'm happier single with my friends. I don't need a man. So they're very much closed off and closed their heart off to the possibility of finding someone. And I knew in the deepest of my heart that I knew he was out there, but I knew I had to do the work on myself first and peel the onion back and have this deep understanding of where I've come from, my triggers, my nuances, so I could fully show up as me and attract the right man.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Where do we start?
Really? I mean, it's very clear, it's very authentic. What flavor, I'm gonna say it in a cute way, but what flavor of empowerment coach are you? So the women that come to you generally, again, I understand that, similar to you, I created this podcast and wrote my book because I felt like I had a higher purpose other than marketing, communications, and being a chief marketing officer. And that's why I do it. Let's park that for a moment. What flavor of empowerment coach and what kinds of problems are people coming to you with that you're solving for in your flavor?
Yeah, my flavor is I have a lot of empathy and understanding, but I'm balanced with calling people out and helping them realize the patterns, the triggers, and we go on this deep inner journey, and it's a brave inner journey that you need to go on to come out the other end. So it's not for the faint-hearted, but anything you want in life needs effort, needs understanding, needs some commitment. And the typical things that come to me with my ladies is, believe it or not, self-worth. Now, we all think high achieving women who are killing it at work, running a business, CMOs, whatever else, we all think naturally they present well, they're confident. We naturally think they've got tons of self worth. Actually, no, they don't. When it comes to relationships, they don't. And I would love to do some research on this, and I've done some digging around, but high achieving women, their self-worth is linked to external validation. So that's their job title, their promotion, their status in society, their revenue streams, all of that good stuff, their LinkedIn latest posts, instead of celebrating their innate human values as is. So we have a lot of work to do on the self worth. So that would definitely surprise a lot of people, but not to your listeners. And then we've got the energy battle. So we have had to survive and push through those glass ceilings in a world built by men. So we have naturally had to put on the masculine energy, which is the proactivity, the assertiveness, the decisiveness, the future planning, being that assertive, go on self. And that's your masculine energy. And because we're striving in our masculine so much, we can actually get to be in masculine energy as autopilot, right? It just becomes our normal baseline. So when we leave work, we're still in our masculine. And I used to be like that. I used to go out on dates and it's like, okay, so what do you do? And and instead of coming down into my feminine. And feminine is not about being submissive or hi, or girly, or be a bit like helpless, all that bullshit advice you get to be more feminine. It's actually oh yeah, just be more feminine, be more feminine. It's actually the feminine is actually being receptive. It's being in your flow, which means being in the present and being able to listen with empathy and understanding instead of to respond, which is quite often what we have to do in the masculine work world. So it's understanding what feminine energy is, why it's actually good for us. So if we're masculine all the time, we're going to get burnt out being on go, go, go mode. Our cortisol levels are high, our adrenal glands are high, our nervous system's like, But when we're in our feminine, it's actually really good for us. And ways to get in your feminine, creativity, allowing the brain to have its intuition, that gut knowing, to think, to freely think of new possibilities and ideas. Another way to get in your feminine is to be in nature because that brings you into the present and feeling the wind on your skin and smelling the roses and feeling the rain, all those things that bring you into the present being and make you feel in the moment, in the present, and just be because we're human beings, we're not human doings at the end of the day. So it's that dance and balance between the energies that a lot of my women have to understand and get into, and it's not an act. It's just adjusting a few things between work life and your personal life to really become balanced between the energies. And the thing is we need feminine energy at work, believe it or not. So you can present, I'm yabbering on now to you, but then once you're talking to me, and asking questions and, speaking your, experience and opinions. I'm back in my feminine because I'm listening. I'm in the present and I'm listening to you. So you can see how we can flow in both instances. It's not like, "Hey, we're masculine at work. Whoo, let's go and put my feminine t-shirt on now. It's time to go on a date. It's time to be at home," It doesn't work like that. It's a flow between both. And we need our masculine in the evening, in our personal life too. Otherwise, we'll never make a decision. We need our masculine to make a decision, right? Where we're gonna eat tonight, what we're having for our dinner, where we're gonna go on holiday in, 3 or 4 months' time. So it's a flow between the 2. It's not an act, and it's just learning to embrace more of that because we've all got it inside of us.
Yeah. Well, the research has proven, I've had a guest on to talk about the research that she's done with her partner, who is a man actually, that empathetic female leaders have better ROI and business results than the pure command and control masculine, energy, whether that be male or female. But I'm saying that command and control, my way or the highway kind of leadership style. So when you are empathetic and you are a listener and you are interested in hearing and you're curious, that's what I always tell my children, just show up curious. Just be curious. Ask questions. Engage. What's coming at you? Process it. Listen and then respond. I mean, I'm not great at it. I'm still working on it, and I think we're all works in progress. I know my shortcomings because you're so anxious to. I've got something to say, and it's really funny. I have a podcast guest for you to recommend who was just she was Katie McDonald. She'd be great on your podcast. And she talks about we are human beings, not human doing. And she's got the whole thing about self love and self care, and she asserts that. We don't know how to self-regulate. We don't know how to self-soothe, use we use, like, alcohol and stuff to kinda.
Absolutely. I talk about this all the time, and you're right. They're having that intuition and what you were saying, like, be curious and, the empaths naturally, because you have that kind of sixth sense, and if you learn to tap into that intuition and we're so head led, we're not listening to what's going on in our body, and our gut is one of the most powerful things that we have that we blooming ignore all the time. So again, on my Evolve Woman program, I teach people how to re-engage with that gut feeling and, how we make decisions with our head, our heart, and our gut, and how to sync those three brains essentially to make powerful decisions both at work and in our personal lives. But you're right, your intuition starts picking up and sensing things that the head brain just wouldn't. It's like, this feels a bit off. Let's just take a step back. And the creativity, and when I say creative, everyone naturally thinks art, but it's creative thinking, curiosity, isn't it? Right. So you're so right. Just having a couple of breaths instead of just jumping in, and obviously, breath work, we all know a couple of deep breaths, it brings your nervous system down. You can think straight, you know. It's not rocket science.
It's really not, but it's funny, we have to keep reminding ourselves to do it. I had another woman who was in the same company for 25 years, McQuiston, and she, said her first thing was, when something didn't feel right, it didn't align with her integrity or her value system, whatever, she would get this weird sensation in her belly. A very strange, like, I don't feel good. Something's not right. And when she was younger, she turned it off and said, I must be feeling queasy or whatever, or maybe I'm pregnant or whatever she used to chalk it up to. And then she realized that that was her trigger. That was her first baseline, first line of defense trigger. Her belly was saying, "You are not in a good place, girlfriend. Get out. Don't let this happen." Right. So then she started to use it and leverage, like, oh, belly's talking. I got to listen. So it's this notion of, I think you're putting forth the theory and proving the theory out that when we are more in tune with ourselves, we make better decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we're how does this feel? Like what is the energy like? And it's like in a business meeting or meeting someone for the first time, like, how do I feel after this meeting? Do I feel drained? Why do I feel drained? So just being curious about those feelings. So if your stomach, you get those so, okay, what's going on here? Why have I got this? Instead of reaching that glass of wine, oh, let's dull that pain. It's exploring like, okay, what's going on here? And for those who haven't really tapped into their gut intuition or gut feel, or feel that they've lost their way with it because they've made some bad decisions in the past and they listened to their gut or they didn't, I would recommend writing just for over 2 or 3 weeks when they get those funny feelings up, just writing those things down about how they're feeling, why they're feeling them, put to some conclusions, and then see what happens in the aftermath. Business meetings or whatever else, like hires that they did or didn't make, and just notice making decisions that the gut is part of, not just the head. Notice how those decisions unravel. And 9 times out of 10, your gut will have been right. And it's just learning how to trust that.
Amazing. Yeah, a friend of mine has a journal. Her name is Rosie McCann. You check it out on link on Amazon. Notice what you noticed. She's a holistic nutritionist, and she wants you to see the relationship between what you eat and how you feel. And it's really wild. It's like, even you may not know that you're intolerant to something or you have an allergy to something, but every time I have dairy, I feel like hell.
Oh, and we have to go and get tested for it. Like, hello, do you not know your own body? Like, you massively bloated, your eczema's flared. Oh, but I have to go and get a test. Like, dude, like, we're just not, we're just not in tune with our bodies. Like, we're so disconnected.
We're so neck up. We live neck up.
We really do. And our poor little bodies, that all the things that we put them through, it's time to kind of take that power back. And I do see, I always say this, the power is within us. Quite often, when we're trying to fix ourselves, whether it's well being or whatever else, it's like, oh, well, this person can fix me. Well, actually, it's you and it's the power within. Only you can heal you, only you can fix you. Instead of going, oh, let's pay this guru $10,000 to fix me, or I'm going to go on this, $20,000 wellness retreat for a week, only to come back and go back to my old habits. These types of analogies and real examples, to be honest, when the power is really within us. We just have to know how to harness it.
And I think, yes, I fully agree, and I think we have to want to, because I think, so I have a friend who's going through some challenges, and, she and her husband both are doing different things, but if you really want the outcome, you will find it and you will get it. If you keep reaching for that external guru to fix something that's here, it's never gonna get done.
No. And that's the thing with also modern dating advice. You see these things out there. Text a guy these 5 words and he'll automatically fall in love with you. I mean, what utter BS is out there? Do these things. Don't be authentically you if you really want to attract the love of your life. I mean, it's all this external say this, do this, act in this way. Like, what happened to being our genuine, authentic selves?
Well, this is the thing that really concerns me, and then maybe it's because I'm European and what European women don't typically operate this way, but so you attract the love of your life on bullshit that's not really you. So once you presumably land the fish that you presumably wanted, he might not like the real you and you might not like the real him because guess what? You were pretending for the last 6 months. So what does that leave you? You building a house on a leaky foundation full of lies. So how's that gonna work out long term?
Exactly. And again, this all stems back to self-worth. I have to be this type of person. I have to look this way to attract a high value quality man. Whereas actually we should be looking inside of ourselves and what are our values? How can we bring those out in an authentic, genuine way? Because surely values such as kindness, transparency, loyalty, authenticity, humor, and fun are way more important than being a size six and having the latest handbag and looking a certain way and acting a certain way. And again, I have women coming to me who are scared to be their authentic self. And we have and these are women in their 50s who are, at CMO level, CFO level, and they are scared to be themselves in a dating scenario. And so we have to take steps back. And it's like with confidence, it's a muscle that has to be squeezed. So, okay, go and be your authentic, amazing self in this situation and see what happens. And it's like, lo and behold, you had an amazing experience. You felt great after that interaction. And it's just talking with some new neighbors in the local pub or whatnot. But it's so fascinating how people feel that they had to have to be somebody else when they're amazing just the way they are.
I wanted to bring out some themes that I saw on your podcast and some your Instagram, if I may, and I think this will resonate really well with the audience. Real love is received, not achieved. You can both love being single and wanting a loving relationship. Your partner is a mirror of your standards. Oh, I love that. Why using external validation will sabotage your love life, and why mass market dating is not serving high performing women. I want to go there for a moment. Why is it not serving the high performing women and what do we do about it? I mean, other than send them to your obviously to your program and well, call Linda. But I mean, what's the difference here that a high performing woman and a what I'll call a more, you know, typical woman do not share?
Yeah, and I think it's going back to the nuances of what were we discussing before? Yes, everyone battles with self-worth for sure. I think high performing women do struggle with the masculine feminine energy balance. I think they also struggle a lot with time management. I also think they struggle a lot with limiting beliefs of their persona. So they think that they have to dumb themselves down and be somebody who they're not to attract love. So someone a little bit more submissive, act like the damsel in distress. And the mass market dating advice is like this cookie cutter, and even Chat GPT. You can ask Chat GPT like how to reply to a text message. I mean, there's nothing more off-putting than getting song and verse from a woman that's like 10 pages of what Chat GPT tells you to reply to a guy. It's not genuine. It's not authentic, and it's absolutely downright exhausting. So the dating advice out there is it's mass market. It's one size fits all. It's cookie cutter. It doesn't consider the modern woman who is busy for 60 hours a week, who has been a masculine a lot of the time, who hasn't had the time to date.
Hasn't made the time to date. So my special sauce is time and priority management. If you don't put it on your calendar as a priority, you have not prioritized it. So don't bullshit me that you even want it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to lose 20 pounds and you're not willing to take a trip to the gym, and you're not willing to eat healthy foods or whatever the above list is, don't pretend. Just don't say it because you're not doing anything about it.
I 100% agree with you, Monique. I mean, the thing is, my clients, they'll spend so much time creating strategies at work, but how about we apply a little strategy to your personal life here? And I'm not saying make it all fake and spreadsheets and everything else, because that's what we don't want. But hey, let's have a little look at this here.
Here's another thing. When you scroll on social media, put a timer on because guaranteed you've gone down that rabbit hole and you've just wasted 2 hours of your time where you just told me you couldn't go to the gym and you couldn't make your own dinner.
Oh, exactly. "Oh, I don't have time to do your Evolve Woman program." "Oh, so you don't have time, you don't have 3 or 4 hours a week, do you not? Okay, so what are you doing in the evenings? Hmm? Bit of Netflix, bit of, mindless Instagram scrolling, yeah? Of course we've got time." You know, and I have to share this. My mum is turning 80 very soon, and, she didn't find or didn't open her heart to find anyone else after my father died 25 years ago. And this broke my heart, and I do share this with women who say, "I don't have time for love. I'm not interested. I'm self-sufficient. I've got all my friends. I have amazing holidays with them and my extended family, yada, yada, yada." And my mom, yeah, my mom said to me, Linda, the biggest regret I ever have was never finding love because I see you and John, my partner. You adore him. He adores you. It's the most beautiful thing ever. And I'm envious. I'm envious because I've never had that. I've never had that. And, at the end of the day, in this crazy old world we're living in, the most beautiful thing and the most important thing, I believe, is the love that we share. The love that we share with friends, with our family, and with our partner. And the love that you get with a partner, it is different. Like, no one holds you tight at the end of the day like a partner does, or has those deep, intimate conversations, who has a deep understanding of you, who chose you above everyone else, who puts up with you, warts and all, when you've had a bad day or it's that time of the month and you're feeling crappy. That is the person who you want to share your life with, and what's the point in having all this success when you haven't got anyone to share it with, when you haven't got someone to go on a beautiful holiday with or share the holiday season with, and yes, there's amazing friends and family out there, but I always believed there was someone. I wasn't this desperate, lonely single girl. I have got amazing friends. I had an amazing life. I still have an amazing life, but I enjoyed being single until I found my partner because I knew I would find him. I was always open to it, but I was never prepared to lower my standards just to have someone, right? So I did the work and I knew what I wanted and I peeled that onion back and there were certain things that I wasn't willing to compromise on. And along came my Yorkshireman.
So where did you meet him and what was your first, let's unpack the standards. Your standards were, "I will not put up with."
100% kindness. Kindness, and it's not just saying things, it's proving how you're kind, not just to me, but looking how they are with friends and family. Transparency and honesty are a huge thing. Like, no funny business. Transparency, even if the truth hurts. Transparency and loyalty are everything. They really are everything. And sense of humor was always really important to me. I think a sense of humor makes life so much sweeter. My partner's father passed away 3 weeks ago, and I think I shared with you that's why we delayed this podcast. And you really just are again reminded about I was reminded again about what an amazing human being he is because he continued to be selfless, to still take care of everyone around him, even though he was in pain. Then he ended up in hospital with a health condition and, he still showed up. And then when you're at the lowest vibration, right, when you're grieving, when you're suffering, you really see who people are. And for me, it was that care and humility, no ego, and having that emotional intelligence to be able to navigate life's hardships was so important to me because I am quite evolved, right? I've done a hell of a lot of work on myself since my father's suicide, a failed marriage in my early 30s, dating absolute fuckwits. I I had to do all of that work and really understand myself. So I was looking for someone with a growth mindset. They don't have to be a CEO or, a coach like me or someone who wants to set the world on fire at all. They just have had to have a growth mindset. So those were important values for me. And we met on Hinge. We're both big hikers. So our first date was actually a hike. And I always approached each date like, well, I'm doing something fun. I'm going to a new coffee shop or, I'm going on a nice walk. It's a lovely day. And he showed up and the immediate vibes were he was just this nonchalant, down to earth Yorkshireman who like blew me away with his kind of no nonsenseness. He wasn't like this big peacock, like, hey, look at me. He was great at asking questions. He was so curious. He was a real gentleman on the walk as well. But I just got this vibe that he was just a really good egg, and the way he spoke about his life, his family, his mom, his dad, those are all the signs about what they value and what they care about. And obviously, being a family man was very important to me. Like having a good relationship with your family members is important to me. So he was demonstrating all of that in the first date. I was like, yeah, literally, I let it slip on the first date. Well, I'll be seeing you very soon for another hike. And he was just, we haven't even discussed that. He's like, oh, you're planning the second date already, are you? I was like, oh, damn, that kind of fraudulent slip came out.
Sounds like totally authentic and totally real, you know? It's like, this is who I am and take it or leave it, and he was comfortable in his own skin, which I think for me is the biggest one.
Yeah, he was so comfortable in his own skin and, rewind a few years ago in Singapore, which is a city with immense wealth. And, there's a lot of guys, I used to get picked up in Ferraris, sent home in Bentleys, taken to Michelin star restaurants. All that jazz was going on. And it just became like utterly unimportant to me, like, I've been there, I've done that, and it's meaningless, like, who is the person? Who are they? What are their innate human values, and how do they show up in the world? And you can only get that by the first few dates and experiencing them in different situations as well.
So good, so true, so true. So when you say follow your passion, what do you mean? When you coach your women and you ultimately give them the Linda advice, and one of many things that you say is follow your passion. And what does that mean for you?
Yeah, and I always go back to good old Simon Sinek when he started off with "Start with the why." Um, That was a really interesting book for me many, many years ago, what he started off with, like, why we do what we do. Why do you do what you do? Ikigai, the Japanese Venn diagram, I think is also a great thing to look at. What is your purpose? What is your passion? And it's really living life with meaning and purpose. Like, why do we do what we do? And what's your legacy? When you're on your deathbed looking back, and it's like what we're talking about finding love, but when you're looking back on your life, what are you proud of? What mark did you leave on the world? Whether it's big or small, did you help businesses do better? Did you help human beings feel better about themselves? Like, what mark did you leave apart from, filling your bank account with a ton of cash? Like, who cares? You're not taking that with you. But what positive impact did you leave, big or small, on this planet? And I just think the world needs more of that in today's current landscape.
What do you think is holding women back though from finding the love that you say they have either earned or, said they wanted?
Yeah, a few things. I think bad experiences. They if you've had a bad experience, it's hard to get back on the horse, so to speak, if you had a really bad heartbreak. But I always compare it to work. You may have had a bad quarter at work or something may have gone wrong and clients give you some feedback and you're like, what you do? All right. Okay. What did we learn from that situation? What can we learn? How are we going to implement new strategies moving forward into the next quarter? How can we structure things different with the client moving forward? We always like look and we learn and we implement. But with our dating lives, it's like, oh my God, he was emotionally unavailable, he cheated on me, he ghosted me, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. So we're just not applying that same mentality. And okay, what can I learn from this situation? Like, okay, I've been hurt and he didn't show up how I expected him to show up. He wasn't honest. Whatever the scenario was, but what can we learn from it? And how can we take that forward into future dating and future relationships?
So what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Yeah. Oh, I did a post on this recently, as to why I was single. Oh yeah, it was probably the one, act helpless. Men like to feel needed, act helpless. And I kid you not, I was dating this guy in Singapore and I created this, and he was managing director of this huge retail company. and I created a fake P&L sheet to show him and say, "Hey, could you have a look at my numbers for me? I'm not sure whether I should be spending money in this area." And, like, because I didn't need him for anything, right? I ran my life. So that was that, act helpless. Also, because my industry was hotels and restaurants, don't be too switched on. Don't suggest restaurants and bars. Let them suggest stuff. I was like, okay, so this is my industry. This is my area of industry expertise, but don't come across as too smart and knowing where the good places are. Let them book. Okay, all right. So yeah, a lot of like well-meaning advice, but I guess what they were saying is, and they didn't know what they were saying, that I was probably in my masculine.
So what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Yeah, I think you're the one in the relationship, not your family, not society, and not Instagram. Don't date who you think other people want you to date. Date who's good for you.
Love that. Thumbs up. I feel anybody's watching on YouTube, I gave you a thumbs up. Anybody's listening, I gave her a thumbs up. Okay. And then last but not least is if you had the opportunity to speak to the Linda of 30, the 30-year-old Linda, what would you say to her?
Life's a journey. It's not always going to be easy, but stay true to yourself, be self aware, and hold on tight.
Well, that was a master class. Literally, I feel like we got a master class from Lynda Williams right here. Fabulous. Fabulous. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with, like parting words of wisdom or just call to action, whatever it is, it's your wrap up.
Yeah, no, if you want to find out more about what I do or have a chat, my Instagram handle is at Lynda Williams Coach. You can find all my podcast episodes on there as well. And you can also find the Evolve Woman program on there, my upcoming webinars. And yeah, happy to chat to you if you want to find out more.
Sounds good. Remember Linda with a Y, ladies and gents. And I'll put all of her contact information in the show notes. Linda, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And as I always like to say, please hit the subscribe button and make it a great day. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Possibilities with Monique de Maio, where we unpack life as a female mover and shaker. If you like the show, please consider liking it or better still, subscribing to it and leaving us a rating. It truly does help. Also, you can pick up my book, The 7 Secrets to Creating a Life You Love, a practical guide for women in leadership. You can find the book, other episodes of this podcast, and how to stay in touch at moniquedemaio.com. DEMAIO. I look forward to seeing you again soon. With gratitude, Monique.